The glass tower of quantum dynamics loomed over Silicon Valley, its sleek chrome and reflective panels catching the late afternoon sun like a beacon of innovation. Inside, the open-plan office buzzed with the hum of ambition. Developers typing furiously, project managers barking into headsets, and the faint clink of coffee mugs from the break room. At 3:12 p.m., Marcus Thompson stepped off the elevator on the 17th floor, his polished leather shoes silent against the polished concrete. His tailored navy blazer hugged his broad shoulders, and a sleek tablet rested in his hand, its screen glowing with notifications. A silver Patek Philippe watch, $12,000, a gift from his mentor at Stanford, glinted on his wrist. His safety badge, clipped to his belt, bore the Quantum Dynamics logo, same as everyone else's. But as he crossed the threshold into the main coding hub, heads turned. Not with respect, but with suspicion. Eyes narrowed, whispers started, and a few keyboards went quiet. Marcus Thompson was a black man in a space where assumptions ran faster than the code. "Hey, you," a voice cut through the hum, sharp and condescending. Ethan Caldwell, lead software architect, leaned back in his ergonomic chair, arms crossed, his pale face creased with irritation. "You lost or something?" "Janitorial closets down on B2. His tone dripped with the confidence of someone who'd never been questioned in this room. Behind him, 3 colleagues. Leela Nguyen, a junior developer with a nervous smile. Ryan Kessler, a smug DevOps engineer. And Sophie Grant, the team's data scientist, exchanged smirks. Few other coders glanced up from their dual monitor setups, sensing drama brewing. Ethan's voice carried, deliberate, like he was performing for the room. "Seriously, man, this is a restricted area. Authorized personnel only." Marcus paused, his expression calm but unreadable. He adjusted his grip on the tablet where a notification blinked. "Client sync, 15 minutes. I'm here to review the authentication module for the Apex project," he said evenly, his voice low but clear, like a man who'd learned to measure his words. "There's a potential security flaw in the encryption protocols." Ethan laughed, a harsh barking sound that echoed off the glass walls. "Security flaw? You hear this guy?" He turned to his team, who chuckled on cue. Lila hesitated, her eyes flicking to Marcus's badge, but Ryan leaned forward, emboldened. "Buddy, I think you're in the wrong building. Maintenance is across the street by the loading dock." He pointed dramatically toward the window, as if Marcus couldn't find his way without a map. The room rippled with snickers, but not everyone was laughing. A few developers, outsiders to Ethan's clique, shifted uncomfortably. One, a young coder named Priya Sharma, pulled out her phone, her thumb hovering over the record button. Marcus didn't flinch. He tapped his tablet, pulling up a work order with the Quantum Dynamics letterhead, digital signatures from the CTO and VP of Engineering. "This is my authorization," he said, holding it out toward Ethan. "I need access to the source code repository for Apex, specifically the OAuth implementation." Ethan didn't even glance at the tablet. Instead, he stood, his 6'2" frame looming as he stepped closer, blocking Marcus's path to the server room. "Look, friend," he said, the word friend dripping with sarcasm. "We don't just let randoms poke around in our code. This is a billion-dollar project. You know what that means, right? Actual professionals work here." He gestured at himself and his team, as if their credentials were written in the air. Sophie nodded, her arms crossed tightly. "Yeah, like people with actual degrees," she added, her voice sharp. "Not some tech support guy playing dress-up." The room grew quieter now, the hum of keyboards fading as more eyes turned toward the confrontation. Priya's phone was recording now, discreetly angled from her desk. Another developer, Javier Ruiz, started a live stream on X, his caption reading, "Some BS going down at QD right now. Y'all need to see this." The viewer count ticked up, 124789. Comments started rolling in. "What's this dude's problem? Why they treating him like that?" Marcus's grip on his tablet tightened slightly, but his face remained a mask of calm. His leather portfolio, tucked under his arm, bore subtle gold initials. MT, PhD, nobody noticed. Nobody cared to. The watch on his wrist ticked softly. A reminder of the client meeting now, 12 minutes away. "I'm not tech support," Marcus said, his voice steady. "I'm here on a contract to audit the Apex codebase." The encryption flaw could expose user data. We're talking GDPR violations, fines in the millions. Ethan rolled his eyes, turning to his team for backup. You hear this? He's gonna lecture us about GDPR now. Ryan laughed, leaning back in his chair. What's next? You gonna tell us how to write Python? Stick to fixing printers, man. The insult landed hard and a few developers winced. Javier's live stream hit 237 viewers. The comment section heating up. This is straight up racism. Call them out. Sophie stepped forward, her phone in hand, scrolling through something. Let's be real, she said, her voice cutting. You don't exactly look like someone who'd be auditing our code. Where'd you even get that badge? Did you borrow it from someone? The accusation hung in the air, sharp and dangerous. Stealing a badge was a fireable offense, maybe even a criminal one. Ethan seized on it, his eyes gleaming. Good point, Sophie. Maybe we should call security. Can't be too careful with proprietary code. Marcus opened his portfolio and pulled out a laminated ID, the kind that screamed legitimacy. Quantum Dynamics Consultant, Marcus Thompson, PhD. He held it up, but Ethan waved it off like it was junk mail. Nice try, Ethan said, pulling out a small bottle of hand sanitizer from his pocket. He squirted a dollop into his palm, rubbing it with exaggerated care. Don't know where that's been, he said loudly, smirking at his team. The room tensed. Priya's recording caught every word, and Javier's live stream jumped to 412 viewers. Comments exploded. Did he just say that? This is disgusting. Across the room, a facilities worker named Aisha Brooks paused her coffee break, her phone already out. She opened Instagram Live, whispering into the mic, Y'all, this is some next-level disrespect happening at Quantum Dynamics. They're treating this guy like he's nothing. Her viewer count started at 0, then climbed 1876, 143. The office was turning into a digital courtroom. Every phone a witness. Marcus's tablet chimed again. Client sync, 10 minutes. He glanced at it, then back at Ethan, who was now pacing like a predator circling prey. You're disrupting our workflow, Ethan said, his voice louder now, playing to the growing audience. We've got deadlines, real work to do. Not whatever this is. He gestured at Marcus, dismissing him entirely. Lila, who'd been quiet so far, finally spoke up, her voice hesitant but sharp. Maybe he's like an intern or something? Should we call HR to sort this out? Intern. Ryan snorted. Does he look like he's fetching coffee for the real engineers? The room split. Some laughed, others looked away, uncomfortable. Javier's live stream hit 672 viewers, and Aisha's Instagram Live climbed to 289. The comments were relentless. This is why tech sucks for black folks. Name these clowns. Marcus took a slow breath, his eyes scanning the room. He opened his portfolio again, pulling out a notebook, its pages crisp and organized. He began writing, his pen moving with surgical precision. Names, times, quotes. What are you doing? Ethan demanded, stepping closer, his voice tinged with unease. Documenting, Marcus said simply. California Labor Code Section 2940. Workplace harassment based on protected characteristics. Standard procedure. The legal jargon hit like a shockwave. Ethan froze, his confidence flickering for the first time. Sophie's eyes widened, her phone still in hand but forgotten. Ryan leaned forward, his smirk fading. You're threatening us now? He asked, his voice less certain. Not threatening, Marcus said, his pen still moving. Recording. For the record. The word record carried weight and the room felt it. Javier's live stream jumped to 1,104 viewers. The comment section a blur of emojis and outrage. Aisha's Instagram Live hit 512, her whispered commentary growing bolder. This brother's about to shut it down. They don't even know. The office manager, Greg Larson, emerged from his corner office, his face a mix of annoyance and confusion. He was a wiry man in his late 40s, his tie slightly crooked, his expression that of someone who hated interruptions. What's going on here? He demanded, his eyes landing on Marcus. You causing trouble again? The assumption was instant, automatic, like a reflex. Marcus was the problem, not the solution. No trouble, Marcus said, his voice still calm, almost unnervingly so. I'm trying to access the Apex codebase to address a critical security vulnerability. Your team is refusing me access. Greg frowned, glancing at Ethan for confirmation. Ethan jumped in, his voice aggressive now. Greg, this guy's claiming he's some kind of code auditor. He's got no business here. We're in the middle of a sprint and he's wasting our time. Marcus held up the work order again, but Greg barely looked at it. You're not on my team list, Greg said, pulling out his phone to check something. I'd know if we had a consultant coming in. You maintenance or what? The word maintenance stung, and Marcus's jaw tightened slightly, the only crack in his composure. His tablet chimed again, client sync 7 minutes. In the distance, the elevator dinged, and the sound of polished heels clicked toward the coding hub. Nobody noticed, too focused on the drama unfolding. Aisha's live stream hit 789 viewers, and Javier's X stream soared to 1,037. Comments flooded in. This is straight-up racial profiling. Somebody call corporate. I'm not maintenance, Marcus said, his voice firmer now. I'm Dr. Marcus Thompson, contracted by Quantum Dynamics to audit the Apex project. The vulnerability I'm here to address could compromise 1.2 million user accounts. That's a $47 million liability if it goes public. The numbers hit the room like a slap. Ethan's smirk vanished completely. Sophie's phone slipped slightly in her hand, and Lila looked like she wanted to disappear. Greg, however, doubled down. Dr. Thompson? He said, his tone mocking. Buddy, I've been here 15 years. I know every consultant we've got. You're not one of them. Priya's recording caught every word, and Javier's live stream comments were moving too fast to read. This is insane. Get their names. White privilege in action. Aisha's Instagram live hit 1,247 viewers. Her voice barely a whisper now. They're about to get wrecked. This guy's not playing. Marcus's notebook was filling up now, each word a potential nail in someone's career. At 3:14 p.m., he said aloud, his pen moving. Mr. Caldwell refused me access to the codebase and suggested I belong in the janitorial closet. At 3:15, Ms. Grant questioned the legitimacy of my badge, implying theft. The specificity was chilling and Ethan's face paled. You're writing down everything? He asked, his voice cracking. For the record, Marcus repeated, his eyes locking onto Ethan's. The room was a pressure cooker now, every word amplifying the tension. The elevator doors opened again, and a woman's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Excuse me, she said, her tone sharp and authoritative. I'm looking for Dr. Marcus Thompson. Every head turned. Vanessa Chen, VP of Product Development for Quantum Dynamics, stood in a tailored gray suit, her presence commanding the room. Behind her, two men in equally sharp attire carried briefcases, their expressions all business. These weren't middle managers. These were corporate heavyweights, the kind who made decisions that moved stock prices. Vanessa's eyes scanned the room, impatient. Dr. Thompson, we have an urgent meeting regarding the Apex security audit. Where is he? The silence was deafening. Ethan's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Sophie's phone clattered onto her desk, the recording still running. Javier's live stream hit 2,347 viewers, and Aisha's Instagram live surged to 1,892. The comment sections were chaos. Oh, snap. Plot twist. Who's Dr. Thompson? Marcus stepped forward, his tablet still glowing with the client sync notification. 3 minutes. That would be me, he said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of truth. The room froze, every assumption, every insult, every smirk collapsing under the weight of that single sentence. Vanessa's eyes locked onto him, relief flashing across her face. Dr. Thompson, thank goodness. We need to discuss the encryption flaw immediately. This is a critical issue. Ethan stumbled back, his chair squeaking against the floor. Dr. Thompson? He repeated, his voice barely a whisper. You're actually a doctor? Marcus didn't answer. He opened his portfolio with deliberate precision, pulling out a laminated document. Stanford University. Doctor of Philosophy in Computer Science, 2018. The seal was unmistakable. The kind of credential that silenced doubters. But the room was already spiraling. Phones capturing every second. Live streams exploding with viewers. Aisha's Instagram hit 2,789, and Javier's X stream soared to 3,421. The comments were a tidal wave. They messed with the wrong guy. Stanford PhD, let's go. Vanessa's eyes narrowed as she took in the scene. The hostile faces, the phones, the palpable tension.
"What's going on here?"
she asked, her voice low but dangerous.
"Why is Dr. Thompson being delayed?"
Marcus didn't hesitate. "I've been denied access to the codebase," he said, his notebook still open. "Based on assumptions about my role and appearance. I've documented the interactions as required by federal and state workplace regulations." The word regulations hit like a bomb. Greg's phone slipped from his hand, clattering onto the floor. Ethan's face was a mask of panic, and Sophie looked like she might faint. Lila was already backing away, distancing herself from the fallout. Priya's recording zoomed in, and Javier's live stream hit 4,087 viewers. Aisha's Instagram live exploded to 3,772, her commentary now a fierce whisper. They thought they could play him, but he's about to flip the script. Vanessa's expression hardened. As a Chinese-American woman who'd fought her way to the C-suite, she knew the sting of assumptions. "Dr. Thompson," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "are you saying you've been obstructed from performing your contracted duties?" "Yes," Marcus said, his voice steady but laced with steel. "At 3:16 p.m., Mr. Larson dismissed my credentials and suggested I'm maintenance staff. At 3:17, security was requested to remove me from the premises." The room was a graveyard of careers now, every word a shovel digging deeper. Vanessa pulled out her phone, already dialing. "This is Vanessa Chen. I need legal and HR on a conference call now. We have a potential compliance violation at Quantum Dynamics." The live streams were going viral, viewer counts climbing into the tens of thousands. The story was no longer just an office drama. It was a reckoning, and the world was watching. The office air thickened with unspoken accusations as Vanessa Chen's question hung in the balance. "What's going on here?" she repeated, her eyes darting from Marcus to Ethan, then to the frozen faces of Sophie, Lila, and Ryan. The hum of the air conditioning seemed louder now, amplifying the awkward silence. Marcus's tablet chimed softly again. "Client sync, 2 minutes." He glanced at it, then back at the group, his composure a fortress amid the crumbling egos around him. Ethan recovered first, his voice a mix of defensiveness and bluster. "Vanessa, this guy just showed up demanding access to our code. We thought he was, not supposed to be here." He gestured vaguely at Marcus, avoiding eye contact. "We're in the middle of a critical push for Apex. Can't have unauthorized people messing with it." Vanessa's eyebrows arched, her expression sharpening like a blade. "Unauthorized. Dr. Thompson is our lead consultant on this project. His firm, Thompson AI Solutions, has a $15 million contract with us for security audits. What part of that sounds unauthorized to you?" The room gasped collectively, the revelation rippling through like a shockwave. Sophie's face flushed red, her earlier smirk replaced by wide-eyed panic. Ryan shifted in his chair, suddenly fascinated by his keyboard. Lila looked like she might cry, her hands twisting in her lap. Greg, the office manager, bent down to pick up his dropped phone, his movements slow and deliberate, as if buying time to process the bomb that had just detonated. But Marcus wasn't done. He flipped open his notebook again, his pen gliding across the page with the precision of a surgeon. "At 3:19 p.m., he said aloud, his voice calm but carrying an edge now. "Ms. Chen arrived and confirmed my identity. Prior to that, Mr. Caldwell suggested calling security to remove me, implying I was a threat to proprietary information." Ethan's eyes widened. "You're still writing that down? Come on, man, it was a misunderstanding." He turned to Vanessa, his tone pleading. "We didn't know. He just doesn't look like a PhD consultant, you know?" The words landed like a slap, and Vanessa's face hardened further. "Doesn't look like? Ethan, do you hear yourself?" She stepped closer, her heels clicking authoritatively on the floor. As a woman of color in tech, she'd faced her share of "doesn't look like" comments, dismissed in meetings, questioned on her expertise. This is exactly the kind of bias that's poisoning our industry. Priya's phone, still recording discreetly, captured every nuance. Javier's live stream had exploded to 5,672 viewers, the comment section a frenzy. "Called it. Racist AF. Stanford PhD. They done messed up. Fire them all. Aisha's Instagram live hit 4,921. Her whispers now urgent. Y'all, the VP is here and she's not playing. This is about to go down. Marcus's past flickered in his mind like a quick flashback, a memory to ground him amid the chaos. He remembered the late nights in Stanford's computer science labs, surrounded by code and coffee. One of only a handful of black students in his cohort. His thesis on advanced AI encryption had won awards, landed him grants, but it hadn't shielded him from the world's assumptions. He'd built Thompson AI solutions from a garage startup to a powerhouse consulting firm, advising Fortune 500 companies on cybersecurity. Yet here he was, still proving himself in a room full of doubters. Dr. Thompson, Vanessa said, turning to him with respect now evident in her voice. Please, tell me exactly what happened. From the beginning. Marcus nodded, closing his notebook for a moment. I arrived at 3:12 p.m. to review the Apex authentication module. There's a vulnerability in the OAuth flow that could allow session hijacking. I presented my work order, but Mr. Caldwell blocked my access and suggested I belonged in janitorial services. Ms. Grant questioned my badge's legitimacy, implying theft. Mr. Kessler made comments about sticking to fixing printers. Mr. Larson assumed I was causing trouble and dismissed my credentials. Each detail was a dagger, and the accused squirmed. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, his confidence shattered. We were just protecting the code, he stammered. Apex is sensitive. Billions on the line. Protecting it from what? Vanessa snapped. From expertise? Dr. Thompson's here to save us from a breach that could cost us those billions, and you obstructed him because… Why? Because he doesn't fit your image of a consultant? Sophie found her voice, though it trembled. It was a mistake. We apologize. Can we just move on and give him access now? Marcus shook his head slightly. It's not that simple. The delay has already cost time. The client sync is in 1 minute, and this vulnerability needs immediate patching. But more importantly, this is a pattern. I've documented similar incidents in other firms, but here, it's escalated to potential discrimination under Title VII. The legal term sent a chill through the room. Greg's face went ashen. He knew HR nightmares when he heard them. Dr. Thompson, please, let's not jump to conclusions. I'm sure we can resolve this internally, but the live streams were anything but internal. Javier's X feed hit 7,843 viewers, comments scrolling like wildfire. Title VII? Lawsuit incoming! This is why diversity training fails. Aisha's Instagram live surged to 6,347, her camera shaking slightly as she captured Vanessa's stern expression. Local tech bloggers were already monitoring, retweeting clips. The story was spreading. A digital brush fire in Silicon Valley's tinderbox. Vanessa's phone buzzed, an incoming call from the CTO. She answered on speaker, her voice professional but urgent. This is Vanessa. I'm with Dr. Thompson now. We have a situation. The CTO's voice crackled through, authoritative and concerned. Vanessa, what's the holdup? The board's waiting on this audit. Dr. Thompson, are you there? Yes, sir, Marcus replied, his tone unwavering. I've been delayed by site personnel who questioned my authority. Questioned? Who? The CTO's disbelief was palpable. Marcus listed the names again, each one a weight dropping. Ethan, Sophie, Ryan, Lila, Greg. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. The CTO sighed audibly. This is unacceptable. Dr. Thompson's expertise is why we hired him. His work on AI security is industry-leading. Vanessa, get him access immediately. And I want a full report on this delay. As Vanessa nodded, motioning for Ethan to step aside. Marcus's tablet chimed the final notification. Client sync now. He tapped the screen, pulling up the code base remotely. Something he could have done earlier if not obstructed. The vulnerability glared back at him. A flawed token refresh mechanism, ripe for exploitation. But Ethan wasn't ready to back down entirely. Wait, he said, his voice desperate now. Even if he's who he says, we need to verify. Can't just hand over the repo to anyone. Anyone? Vanessa echoed, her eyes flashing. Dr. Thompson graduated summa cum laude from Stanford, published in IEE journals, and consulted for NSA-level projects. What have you done lately, Ethan, besides block progress? Flashback again. Marcus at his Stanford graduation, cap and gown. his parents beaming from the audience. The dean shaking his hand, praising his innovative algorithms. It had been a triumph, but even then, whispers about affirmative action had followed him. He'd turned that doubt into fuel, building a firm that now employed 20 engineers, specializing in ethical AI. The office was a circus now, more phones out, more recordings. Priya had switched to live streaming too, her feed hitting 1,000 viewers quickly. Javier's X stream reached 9,672. Aisha's Instagram 8,421. Comments were a storm. Expose them. Black excellence winning. Cutie stock about to tank. Security arrived then, 2 guards, Mike and Carlos, looking bewildered. Greg had called them earlier, but now they hesitated, sensing the shift. What's the situation? Mike asked, his hand on his radio. Vanessa waved them off. Stand down. This is a misunderstanding that's about to be corrected. But Marcus interjected. Actually document their arrival. At 3:22 p.m., security was summoned to remove me for requesting codebase access. Ethan threw up his hands. This is ridiculous. You're turning this into a witch hunt. No, Marcus said quietly. You're the one who started the hunt. Assumptions based on appearance. That's not protection. That's prejudice. Sophie tried to intervene, her voice small. We didn't mean it like that. It was just in protocol. Protocol? Vanessa scoffed. Our protocol is to check badges and work orders, not make snap judgments. Dr. Thompson, please proceed with the audit. Everyone else back to your stations. But expect HR follow-up. As Marcus finally accessed the full repo, scanning the code with expert eyes, the vulnerability scope became clear. This isn't just a flaw, he said, his voice carrying. It's a backdoor. Could lead to data exfiltration affecting 500,000 users. Fines could hit 100 million under CCPA. The numbers stunned the room. Ryan's face drained of color. We tested it, he muttered. Not thoroughly, Marcus replied, already noting fixes in his tablet. Another flashback. His first big consulting gig, uncovering a similar bug for a bank, saving them from hackers. Gratitude had followed, but so had the envy. The live streams were viral now. Javier's hit 12,347 viewers. Isha's 11,892. Tech news sites were picking it up. Headlines forming. Bias blocks billion-dollar audit at Quantum Dynamics. Vanessa's phone buzzed again, legal joining the call. Vanessa, we've got social media alerts. Viral video from your floor? Discrimination claims. We need details. She glanced at Marcus, who nodded. It's documented, he said. And streaming live. The tension peaked as more executives dialed in, the conference call growing. Gayuo's voice boomed. Dr. Thompson assessed the damage from this delay. Time lost, 10 minutes, Marcus said. But the real damage is trust. Potential legal exposure. Ethan slumped in his chair, the fight gone. Sophie wiped her eyes. The room waited, breath held for the fallout to begin. But Marcus focused on the code, his fingers flying. He was here to fix, not just expose. Yet the seeds of change were planted, the bias laid bare for the world to see. The Quantum Dynamics office was a pressure cooker, the air thick with the weight of exposed truths and impending consequences. Marcus Thompson stood at the center, his tablet glowing with the Apex codebase, its lines of code a map of vulnerabilities only he seemed to fully understand. The notification on his screen had faded. Client sync. Now, but the urgency hadn't. Vanessa Chen, VP of Product Development, stood beside him, her phone pressed to her ear as the conference call with legal, and the COO crackled through the speaker. Ethan Caldwell, Sophie Grant, Ryan Kessler, Lila Nguyen, and Greg Larson stood frozen, their earlier confidence replaced by a mix of panic and shame. The room was a digital arena now, with Priya's discreet recording, Javier's X livestream at 15,672 viewers, and Aisha's Instagram live soaring past 14,321. Comments flooded in like a tidal wave. They're done for. Stanford PhD shutting it down. This is what systemic racism looks like. Vanessa's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding. Dr. Thompson, please brief the team on the vulnerability. We need to understand the scope immediately. Her tone was all business, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fury as she glanced at Ethan's team. As a Chinese-American woman who'd clawed her way through tech's glass ceilings, She knew the sting of being underestimated, and this scene was all too familiar. Marcus nodded, his fingers dancing across the tablet to pull up a detailed analysis of the Apex authentication module. The issue is in the OAuth refresh token logic, he began, his voice steady, almost professorial. The implementation allows tokens to persist without proper expiration checks. A malicious actor could hijack sessions, access user data, and potentially escalate privileges to admin level. We're talking exposure of 1.2 million user accounts, GDPR and CCPA violations, and fines starting at $100 million. Worst case, a full data breach could cost Quantum Dynamics $1.3 billion in liabilities and lost contracts. The numbers hit like a sledgehammer. Ethan's jaw dropped, his earlier bravado replaced by a sickly pallor. Sophie's hands trembled, her phone still lying on the desk where it had fallen. Ryan muttered something incoherent, his eyes darting to the exit as if he could escape the fallout. Lila, the quietest of the group, stared at the floor, her face a mask of regret. Greg, the office manager, gripped his phone so tightly his knuckles whitened. "$1 billion?" he whispered, as if saying it aloud might make it less real. The COO's voice boomed through the speaker. "Dr. Thompson, how long to patch this? And why wasn't it caught earlier?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "I can propose a fix within 24 hours, implementation in 48. But it wasn't caught because I was denied access to the codebase for the last 15 minutes. The team assumed I wasn't qualified to review it." His words were calm but razor sharp, each one slicing through the room's fragile defenses. He opened his notebook again, flipping to a fresh page. "At 3:23 p.m., Mr. Caldwell accused me of attempting unauthorized access. At 3:24, Ms. Grant suggested my credentials were fabricated. These actions delayed critical security work." Ethan threw up his hands, his voice cracking. "We didn't know. You can't just walk in here looking like..." He stopped, realizing the hole he was digging. The room held its breath, waiting for him to finish the sentence, but he didn't. He didn't have to. Everyone knew what he meant. Vanessa's eyes narrowed to slits. "Looking like what, Ethan?" "Finish your thought." Her voice was ice, the kind that could freeze careers. Ethan stammered, his face flushing red. "I just mean, he didn't have the right vibe, you know? We're protecting $1 billion project." "The right vibe?" Vanessa echoed, her tone dripping with disdain. "Dr. Thompson has a PhD from Stanford, published in top-tier journals, and consults for companies bigger than ours. What's your vibe, Ethan? 12 years as a lead architect and you missed a back door that could tank us?" A flashback flickered in Marcus's mind. His first day at Stanford, walking into a lecture hall where every face turned to stare, some with curiosity, others with skepticism. He'd been one of 3 black students in his program, constantly proving he belonged. His advisor, Dr. Elaine Carter, had pulled him aside after a seminar. "Marcus," she'd said, "your work will speak louder than their doubts. Document everything always." That advice had become his armor, and today it was his weapon. Javier's X stream hit 18,947 viewers. The comments section a whirlwind of support and outrage. "This is why black folks don't trust tech. Dr. Thompson is a legend. Fire these clowns." Aisha's Instagram live climbed to 16,789, her commentary fierce. "They tried to play him, but he's playing chess. Checkmate coming." Priya, still recording, zoomed in on Marcus's tablet as he displayed the flawed code. Lines highlighted in red screamed of negligence. A missing validation check, an outdated library, a rookie mistake buried in thousands of lines. "This isn't just a bug," Marcus said, his voice carrying the weight of authority. "It's a systemic failure. Your team prioritized speed over security. I flagged this in my initial report 2 weeks ago, but it was ignored." "Ignored?" The COO's voice crackled with alarm. "Who ignored it?" Marcus tapped his tablet, pulling up an email chain. "Sent to Mr. Caldwell on March 12, 2025, at 9:47 a.m. Subject: preliminary audit findings." It outlined the token vulnerability and requested immediate access. No response. Ethan's face crumpled. I must have missed it," he stammered. "We get hundreds of emails." "You missed a critical security alert from a contracted expert?" Vanessa snapped. That's not oversight, Ethan, that's incompetence. She turned to Marcus. Dr. Thompson, what do you need to proceed? Full repo access, a secure terminal, and no further interruptions, Marcus said. I'll start the patch design now, but the client needs to be informed of the delay's impact, the COO interjected. What's the damage from this delay? 15 minutes lost means a tighter window to test the patch, Marcus replied. We're cutting it close for the client demo tomorrow. But the bigger issue is the pattern. This isn't the first time I've been obstructed based on assumptions about my role. The word pattern landed like a grenade. Vanessa's phone buzzed again. Legal escalating the call. Patricia Nguyen, chief counsel, joined the line. Her voice clipped. Dr. Thompson, we're monitoring the live streams. Over 20,000 viewers across platforms. Allegations of discrimination are going viral. Can you confirm the details? Marcus opened his notebook, his voice methodical. At 3:12 p.m., I was denied access to the codebase by Mr. Caldwell, who suggested I belonged in janitorial services. At 3:15, Ms. Grant implied my badge was stolen. At 3:17, Mr. Larson called security to remove me, assuming I was causing trouble. At 3:20, Mr. Kessler mocked my qualifications, suggesting I stick to fixing printers. All documented, all witnessed. Patricia's silence spoke volumes. This is a potential violation of Title VII and California's Fair Employment Act, she said finally. We're looking at federal contract compliance issues too. Quantum Dynamics holds $280 million in government contracts. This could jeopardize them. The room felt like it was shrinking, the stakes ballooning beyond anyone's imagination. Greg's voice broke the silence, weak and desperate. Dr. Thompson, I'm sorry. We didn't know who you were. You didn't ask, Marcus said, his eyes locking onto Greg's. You saw a black man in a blazer and assumed. That's the problem. Another flashback. Marcus at a tech conference last year, presenting on AI-driven encryption. The audience had been skeptical until his demo silenced them, his algorithms outperforming industry standards. Afterward, a senior VP from a rival firm had approached him, whispering, "You're not what I expected." Marcus had smiled then, but the sting lingered. He carried that memory now, fueling his resolve. Aisha's Instagram Live hit 21,347 viewers, her camera catching Vanessa's growing anger. They thought they could dismiss him, Aisha whispered. But he's about to school them all. Javier's X-Stream soared to 23,892. Comments flooding, "This is a masterclass in professionalism." QD's about to pay big time. Security guards Mike and Carlos lingered awkwardly, unsure of their role now. Mike's radio crackled. "Status update?" a voice asked. He hesitated, then replied, "Situation complicated, standing by." Vanessa motioned to Marcus. "Dr. Thompson, please proceed to the server room. I'll ensure full access." She turned to Ethan's team. "You're done here for now. Char will be in touch, but Ethan wasn't ready to let go." "Wait," he said, his voice rising. "This is unfair. We were just doing our jobs, protecting the code. He comes in here, no introduction, just demanding access. No introduction." Marcus interrupted, his voice low but cutting. "I showed my badge, my work order, and stated my purpose. You chose to ignore them because I didn't fit your mental image of an expert. That's not protection. That's bias." The room fell silent again, the truth undeniable. Priya's recording zoomed in on Ethan's face, capturing his defeat. Aisha's live stream hit 25,672. Her commentary fierce. "He's laying it all bare. They can't hide now." Vanessa's phone buzzed again, an incoming call from the board. She answered, her voice tense. "This is Vanessa. We're addressing a critical security issue and a workplace incident. Dr. Thompson is taking lead on the former, but the latter requires immediate action." The board member's voice was stern. "We're seeing the live streams. This is a PR nightmare. Dr. Thompson, what's your assessment of the discrimination claim?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "It's not a claim. It's a fact. I was obstructed from performing my contracted duties based on assumptions about my race and role. The evidence is streaming to over 25,000 people, recorded by multiple witnesses, and documented in my notes. California Labor Code 2940 and Federal Title VII apply. The question is how Quantum Dynamics responds." Patricia's voice cut in. "Dr. Thompson, we take this seriously. We'll need your full report to proceed with disciplinary measures and policy changes. Understood, Marcus said. But the priority is the security flaw. I'm accessing the repo now. He moved toward the server room, Vanessa clearing the way. Ethan tried to follow, but Vanessa held up a hand. You stay here. You've done enough. As Marcus entered the server room, the weight of the moment settled. He connected his tablet to a secure terminal, the codebase unfolding like a battlefield. The vulnerability was worse than he'd feared. A backdoor that could have been exploited for months. His mind flashed back to a late-night hackathon at Stanford, where he'd built a prototype to detect such flaws. His team had won, but a judge had whispered, "Lucky break for a minority team." Marcus had let it fuel him, not break him. Outside, the office was chaos. Javier's X stream hit 28,421 viewers. Aisha's Instagram 27,892. Tech news outlets were live tweeting. Quantum Dynamics faces discrimination scandal as consultant exposes bias. The stock ticker on a wall screen showed QD shares dipping 1.8%. A $120 million market cap hit in minutes. Vanessa's conference call grew heated. "Patricia, we need a crisis plan," she said. "This is viral and it's not slowing down." "Agreed," Patricia replied. "Dr. Thompson, what do you need to resolve both issues?" Marcus didn't look up from his terminal. "For the security flaw, 24 hours to design a patch, 48 to deploy. For the discrimination, immediate suspension of those who obstructed me. Mandatory bias training for all staff. And a public commitment to reform. Anything less, and I'll file a formal complaint with the EEOC." The room gasped. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was a corporate death sentence for compliance violations. Greg's face was a mask of dread. "Dr. Thompson, please, we can fix this internally." "It's not internal anymore," Marcus said, his eyes on the code. "It's global." The live streams were a phenomenon now. Javier's at 32,347, Aisha's at 31,672. Comments screamed for justice. Suspend them all. "Dr. Thompson for CEO." Local news vans were pulling into the parking lot, cameras ready. Quantum Dynamics was no longer just a tech company. It was a case study in what happens when bias meets brilliance. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard, drafting the patch. He was in his element now, the code his sanctuary. But the battle wasn't over. The world was watching, and the truth was only beginning to unfold. The server room of Quantum Dynamics was a sanctuary of cold air and humming machines. Its racks of blinking servers a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding just outside the glass doors. Marcus Thompson sat at a secure terminal, his fingers flying, across the keyboard as he dissected the Apex codebase, line by line, unraveling the vulnerability that could have brought the company to its knees. His tablet, propped beside him, displayed a 3D visualization of the authentication flow. Red lines highlighting the flawed token refresh mechanism, like veins in a diseased heart. The weight of the last hour pressed against him. Ethan's sneers, Sophie's accusations, Greg's dismissive assumptions. But Marcus's focus was ironclad. He wasn't just fixing code. He was rewriting the narrative of this moment. Outside, the office was a digital coliseum, with Javier's X livestream at 37,892 viewers and Aisha's Instagram Live soaring past 35,421. The comment sections were a storm of fury and awe. "Dr. Thompson's a beast. They tried to bury him, now he's burying them. QD's stock is tanking." Vanessa Chen stood just outside the server room, her phone pressed to her ear as the conference call with legal, HR, and the COO grew more intense. Her tailored gray suit was slightly wrinkled now, a testament to the crisis unfolding. "Patricia," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "We need a response plan now. This is trending nationally. TechCrunch is running a live blog and CNN's requesting comment." Patricia Nguyen, chief counsel, responded with a clipped tone. "We're drafting a public statement. Dr. Thompson, can you confirm the timeline for the security patch? And what's the status on the discrimination allegations?" Marcus didn't look up, his eyes locked on the terminal. "Patch design will be complete in 20 hours. Deployment in 44. As for the allegations, they're not allegations. They're facts. I was obstructed from my contracted duties based on racial assumptions, documented at 3:12 p.m. to 3:24 p.m., witnessed by multiple employees, and streamed to over 35,000 viewers. I've got timestamps, quotes, and legal citations ready for review. The COO, Richard Hayes, broke in, his voice heavy with the weight of a $280 million federal contract hanging in the balance. Dr. Thompson, we take this seriously. What do you need to resolve this? Marcus's fingers paused for a moment, his mind flashing back to a moment years ago at Stanford. He'd been presenting his AI encryption thesis to a room of skeptical professors, their faces a mix of curiosity and doubt. One had asked, "How does a kid from Oakland solve problems we've been tackling for decades?" Marcus had smiled, then delivered a demo that left them speechless. That same resilience fueled him now. "For the security issue," he said, "unrestricted access to the repo, a dedicated testing environment, and a direct line to the client for transparency. For the discrimination, immediate suspension of Ethan Caldwell, Sophie Grant, Ryan Kessler, and Greg Larson pending investigation. Mandatory bias training for all staff, a real-time incident reporting app, and a public acknowledgement of the incident with a commitment to reform. Anything less risks EEOC and OFCCP violations." The silence on the call was deafening. The Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs was a specter no company wanted to face, especially one with government contracts like Quantum Dynamics. Patricia's voice returned, measured but tense. "We'll draft suspensions by end of day. HR is pulling personnel files now. Vanessa, what's the mood on the ground?" Vanessa glanced at the office, where employees stood in clusters, phones out, whispering. "It's a mess," she admitted. "The live streams are fueling outrage. Employees are divided, some are shocked, others defensive. We need to act fast to contain this." Outside, Ethan slumped in his chair, his face a mask of disbelief. "This can't be happening," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. Sophie was on her phone, frantically texting, her earlier bravado gone. Ryan stared at his monitor, pretending to work but clearly shaken. Lila, the junior developer, had retreated to a corner, her eyes red. Greg, the office manager, paced near the elevators, muttering to himself about misunderstandings. But the digital witnesses weren't so forgiving. Javier's X stream hit 42,347 viewers. Aisha's Instagram 40,672. Comments were relentless. "Suspend them now." "Doctor, Thompson's carrying this company. This is why tech stays white." Priya, still recording discreetly, caught Vanessa's next move. "Everyone," Vanessa called out, her voice cutting through the office noise. "Back to your desks. This is a workplace, not a circus. Dr. Thompson is addressing a critical issue, and we'll handle the rest through proper channels." But the phones didn't go away. If anything, more appeared, capturing every angle of the unfolding drama. Marcus's mind flickered to another memory. His first big consulting gig, auditing a fintech startup's security. He'd found a flaw that saved them $200 million in potential losses, but the CEO had later confided, "We didn't expect someone like you to catch that." Marcus had nodded, letting the comment slide, but it had fueled his mission to build Thompson AI Solutions into a name that commanded respect. Now, in this server room, he was proving it again. Vanessa stepped into the server room, closing the glass door behind her. "Dr. Thompson, I've got IT setting up your testing environment. The client's on standby for an update. But I need your input on the personnel issue. What's your read?" Marcus kept coding, his voice calm but firm. "Ethan's the ringleader." His comments set the tone. Janitorial references, questioning my badge. Sophie escalated it with theft accusations. Ryan and Lila followed his lead, though Lila seemed hesitant. Greg failed as a manager by assuming I was the problem without checking. They all need consequences, but Ethan and Greg are the priorities. Vanessa nodded, typing notes into her phone. HR's pulling their records. Ethan's got 12 years here, clean file until now. Greg's been manager for 8. Sophie and Ryan are newer, under 3 years each. Lila's an intern, 6 months in. Doesn't matter. Marcus said, his eyes on the screen. Experience doesn't excuse bias. California Labor Code 12940 applies to all employees, intern or veteran, and federal contracts require zero tolerance for discrimination. You know the stakes. Vanessa's phone buzzed again. Patricia with an update. We've got a draft statement, Patricia said. It acknowledges the incident, commits to an investigation, and emphasizes our diversity policies. But we need your approval, Dr. Thompson. We don't want to misstep. Marcus glanced up briefly. Send it to me. I'll review it after I stabilize this code. But it needs to name the issue. Racial discrimination. No vague, misunderstanding nonsense. Transparency is the only way to salvage your reputation. The COO chimed in. Dr. Thompson, we're preparing suspension letters for Caldwell, Grant, Kessler, and Larson. Effective immediately, pending review. Will that suffice? For now, Marcus said. But I want the bias training mandatory within 30 days, and the reporting app live in 2 weeks. I'll provide specs for the app. Anonymous, encrypted, direct to HR and legal. I've built similar systems for other clients. Patricia's voice softened slightly. You're thorough, Dr. Thompson. We appreciate that. But the live streams, are they a legal risk? They're evidence, Marcus replied. Over 40,000 witnesses to what happened. My notes align with the footage. If you try to suppress it, you'll make it worse. Own it, fix it, move forward. The live streams were a wildfire now. Javier's X feed hit 47,892 viewers, Aisha's Instagram 45,421. Tech news outlets were live updating. Quantum Dynamics discrimination scandal escalates as consultant exposes bias. The stock ticker showed QD shares down 2.3%, a $150 million market cap hit. Social media was merciless. This is why black talent leaves tech. Dr. Thompson's a hero. QD better pay up. Back in the server room, Marcus's patch was taking shape. He'd isolated the token flaw, rewriting the refresh logic to enforce strict expiration. His solution was elegant, leveraging his AI expertise to add predictive threat detection, a feature Quantum Dynamics hadn't even requested, but would save them millions down the line. Another flashback, his Stanford hackathon, where his team's AI-driven firewall had outperformed every competitor. The judges had been stunned, but one whispered, "Affirmative action pick." Marcus had smiled, then launched his firm the next year. Vanessa's phone buzzed again, HR Director Lisa Patel joining the call. Vanessa, we've drafted the suspensions. Ethan Caldwell, Sophie Grant, Ryan Kessler, and Greg Larson are off-site pending investigation. We're scheduling bias training for all staff, but we need a vendor. Dr. Thompson, any recommendations? Thompson AI Solutions has a training module, Marcus said, still coding. It's interactive, data-driven, focuses on real-world scenarios. I'll send you the proposal. Cost is $50,000 for 500 employees, scalable. Lisa hesitated. That's steep. Lawsuits are steeper, Marcus replied. EEOC settlements average $500,000 per case. Federal contract losses could hit $280 million. Pick your cost, the COO cleared his throat. Send the proposal, Dr. Thompson. We'll approve it. Outside, the office was a ghost town of productivity. Employees whispered in corners, phones still recording. Priya's stream hit 10,000 viewers, her camera catching Ethan packing his bag, his face a mix of anger and defeat. Sophie was on a call, her voice low and panicked. Ryan had logged off, his monitor dark. Leela sat at her desk, staring blankly, as if realizing her career might be tainted by association. Greg stood by the elevators, his phone buzzing with unread messages from his team. Aisha's Instagram Live hit 50,672, her commentary bold. They thought they could dismiss him, but Dr. Thompson's rewriting their whole future. Javier's X stream soared to 53,347, comments a mix of support and calls for blood. Fire them all. This is why we need black leaders in tech. Vanessa stepped out to address the office. Effective immediately, she announced, her voice echoing. Ethan Caldwell, Sophie Grant, Ryan Kessler, and Greg Larson are suspended pending investigation. Quantum Dynamics has a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. We're implementing new measures to ensure this never happens again. The room erupted in murmurs, some shocked, others nodding in approval. Priya's stream captured the moment, her viewers cheering, "Justice! About time!" Aisha's Instagram comments exploded, "Yes, Queen Vanessa." Dr. Thompson's changing the game. But Marcus wasn't focused on the applause. He was deep in the code, his patch nearly complete. The vulnerability was contained, but the broader issue, the systemic bias that had sparked this crisis, required a different kind of fix. He opened his tablet, drafting a memo to Vanessa. Immediate actions: suspend named employees, launch bias training, deploy reporting app, public apology with specific reforms. Long-term, monthly diversity audits, mentorship for underrepresented staff, transparent hiring metrics. The server room door opened, and Vanessa stepped in, her face a mix of exhaustion and resolve. "Dr. Thompson, the client's on the line. They want your update directly." Marcus nodded, connecting to the call. "This is Dr. Marcus Thompson," he said, his voice clear. "The vulnerability is contained. Patch design is 80% complete, deployment by tomorrow evening. But the delay caused by site obstruction has tightened our timeline. I recommend full transparency with the client to maintain trust." The client's CEO, audible on the call, sounded relieved. "Thank you, Dr. Thompson. We heard about the incident. Are you getting what you need now?" "Yes," Marcus said. "But quantum dynamics needs to address the root cause. This wasn't just a glitch in the code, it was a glitch in the culture." The call ended, but the office was still buzzing. News vans were parked outside, reporters interviewing employees. Qt's stock dipped another 0.5%, pushing the market cap loss to $180 million. Social media was a war zone, with hashtags like #Justice for Thompson trending nationally. Marcus leaned back, his patch saved and tested. The code was secure, but the real work, dismantling the bias that had tried to silence him, was just beginning. He glanced at his watch, the Patek Philippe ticking steadily. The world was watching, and he was ready to lead. The quantum dynamics office, once a hive of frenetic coding and corporate ambition, had transformed into a crucible of reckoning. The server room's sterile hum was Marcus Thompson's refuge as he finalized the patch for the Apex project's authentication flaw. His fingers, steady and precise, closed the last line of code at 4:17 p.m., the terminal flashing green with a successful test run. The vulnerability, a backdoor that could have exposed 1.2 million user accounts, was sealed. Fortified by Marcus's AI-driven threat detection algorithm, a feature that elevated quantum dynamics security beyond industry standards. His tablet, resting beside him, no longer blinked with urgent notifications. The client had been briefed. The patch was live and the immediate crisis averted. But the deeper crisis, the one rooted in bias and assumption, had left scars that were only beginning to heal. Outside the glass doors, the office buzzed with whispers, sidelong glances, and the ever-present glow of phone screens. Javier's X livestream had surged to 62,347 viewers. Isha's Instagram live to 58,672. Their comment sections a cacophony of triumph and outrage. Dr. Thompson saved their asses. Qt's culture is trash. This is black excellence. Vanessa Chen stood near the server room, her phone a lifeline to the corporate machine now scrambling to contain the fallout. The conference call with legal, HR, and the COO had expanded to include the CEO, Margaret Liu, whose voice carried the weight of a company staring down a $280 million federal contract risk. "Dr. Thompson," Margaret said, her tone a mix of gratitude and urgency. "Your patch is a lifeline." The client's thrilled, but the PR situation is spiraling. Social media is calling for heads. "What's your recommendation?" Marcus leaned back, his Patek Philippe watch catching the server room's fluorescent light. "Transparency," he said, his voice calm but resolute. "Acknowledge the discrimination publicly. Name it for what it is, racial bias. Suspend the involved parties, roll out the bias training, and launch the reporting app I specified. Delay or sugarcoat this and you'll lose more than contracts. You'll lose trust." He paused, glancing at his notebook, its pages filled with precise timestamps and quotes. "At 4:20 p.m., I'm confirming the patch is live. The security crisis is resolved, but the cultural one requires action now. Patricia Nguyen, chief counsel, responded. We've issued suspensions for Ethan Caldwell, Sophie Grant, Ryan Kessler, and Greg Larson. HR's finalizing termination letters for Caldwell and Larson based on their leadership roles in the incident. Grant and Kessler are on probation with mandatory training. We're also fast-tracking your training module and app. Can you confirm the timeline? Training module ready in 10 days, Marcus said. App prototype in 14, full deployment in 30. I'll oversee both through Thompson AI Solutions. Cost estimates are in your inbox. He'd built similar systems for banks and tech giants, each one a shield against the kind of bias he'd face today. A flashback flickered. His first client? A fintech CEO who'd balked at his youth and race until Marcus's audit saved their IPO. That victory had been sweet, but today's felt seismic. The COO, Richard Hayes, chimed in. Dr. Thompson, your firm's contract is being amended to include these deliverables. We're also adding a $2 million bonus for averting the breach, but the stock's down 2.8%, $200 million in market cap. We need to stabilize. Marcus nodded, unsurprised. The stock will recover if you act decisively. Post the statement, suspend the employees, and show the world you're serious about change. My firm's seen this before. Transparency drives trust. Trust drives value. Outside, the office was a fractured landscape. Employees clustered in groups, some whispering support for Marcus, others defending Ethan's team as misunderstood. Priya's live stream, now at 15,000 viewers, caught the tension. Vanessa addressing the room, security escorting Ethan out, Sophie sitting frozen at her desk. Aisha's Instagram live hit 62,892, her commentary fierce. They tried to break him, but Dr. Thompson's building a whole new game. Javier's X stream soared to 68,421, comments a mix of celebration and calls for more. Fire everyone involved. Cutie needs a cultural reset. Dr. Thompson for president. Vanessa stepped into the server room, her face etched with exhaustion but resolve. Dr. Thompson, the statement's drafted. It names the incident as racial discrimination, outlines the suspensions, and commits to your reforms. Will you review it? Marcus opened his tablet, scanning the document in seconds. It's solid, he said, but add a line about the app's anonymity features. Employees need to know their reports are safe. And push it out now. Every minute you wait, the narrative slips. Vanessa nodded, typing rapidly. Done. It's going live on our website and socials in 5 minutes. She hesitated, then added, I'm sorry, Marcus. I should have been here sooner. You're here now, Marcus said, his tone even. That's what matters. His mind flashed back to Stanford again. Late nights in the lab, coding through doubt. His mother's voice on the phone saying, Keep going, son. They'll see you one day. Today was that day. But it wasn't just about him. It was about every black coder, every underestimated talent fighting to be seen. The office doors swung open as security escorted Ethan Caldwell out, his face a mix of anger and humiliation. He clutched a box of personal items, his ergonomic chair left spinning at his desk. Sophie Grant sat numbly, her probation letter already in her inbox. Ryan Kessler had logged off, his LinkedIn profile already updated to seeking opportunities. Lila Nguyen, the intern, was in tears, whispering to a colleague about how she'd just followed Ethan's lead. Greg Larson stood by the elevators, his managerial badge confiscated, his career in limbo. Vanessa's phone buzzed with a new alert. Quantum Dynamics stock down 3.1%. $220 million market cap loss. Tech news outlets were relentless. QD discrimination scandal rocks Silicon Valley. CNN had a crew outside, interviewing Aisha, who'd parlayed her live stream into a media moment. This is about respect, she told the camera. Dr. Thompson showed up to save their company, and they treated him like a janitor. We're done with that. Inside, Marcus was already planning the next steps. His patch was live, but the cultural fix required more. He opened his laptop, drafting a proposal for a diversity audit system. Real-time metrics on hiring, promotions and incident reports, all powered by his firm's AI. It would cost Quantum Dynamics $1.5 million to implement, but it would save them tenfold in lawsuits and lost talent. Another flashback. His first employee at Thompson AI Solutions. A young black coder named Jamal who'd said, "You're proof we can make it." Marcus had hired 20 more since, building a team that mirrored the diversity tech claimed to want but rarely achieved. The office was quieter now, the initial shock settling into a grim realization. Employees returned to their desks, but productivity was a ghost. Priya's stream hit 20,000 viewers, her camera catching Vanessa's next announcement. Quantum Dynamics is implementing Dr. Thompson's Respectful Workplace Initiative, effective immediately. Mandatory bias training starts next week, and our new reporting app launches in 30 days. We're committed to change, the room murmured, some nodding, others skeptical. Javier's X stream hit 75,672. Aisha's Instagram 70,421. Comments celebrated. Finally, accountability. Dr. Thompson's rewriting tech. But some were defiant. This is overblown. Ethan was just doing his job. 3 months later, the Quantum Dynamics office was a different place. Marcus's training module, a blend of interactive scenarios and data-driven insights, had been rolled out to 500 employees with 98% completion. The reporting app, encrypted and anonymous, had logged 47 incidents, 12 leading to disciplinary action. The company's stock had recovered, closing 1.2% higher than pre-incident levels, after a public apology went viral for its candor. Marcus's firm, Thompson AI Solutions, saw a 400% surge in consulting requests, from startups to Fortune 500s. He'd hired 10 new engineers, half from underrepresented groups, and launched the Thompson Excellence Scholarship, funding 25 students of color in STEM programs. Ethan Caldwell had found work at a small consultancy, his reputation tarnished but not destroyed. He'd enrolled in voluntary bias training, a condition of his new job. Sophie Grant, still on probation, had become an advocate for diversity, mentoring young coders through a local nonprofit. Ryan Kessler left tech, managing a family business, a quieter path. Leela Nguyen finished her internship, vowing to speak up next time. Greg Larson was demoted to a desk job, his managerial dreams deferred. Marcus stood before a packed auditorium at Stanford, delivering the keynote for the National Society of Black Engineers. His speech, live-streamed to 100,000 viewers, was titled "Code and Courage." "Excellence has no color," he said, "but ignorance has consequences. Document your truth, speak it. The world will listen." The crowd roared, students inspired, professors taking notes. His scholarship fund had grown to $2 million, supporting 50 students now. Aisha's live stream had launched her into citizen journalism. Her podcast, Tech Truth, tackled workplace equality, with Marcus as her first guest. Priya, promoted to junior developer, started a mentorship program for women of color in tech. Vanessa Chen was named senior VP, her handling of the crisis earning her a board seat. Quantum Dynamics federal contracts were renewed, with a new diversity clause inspired by Marcus's reforms. The incident became a case study in tech ethics courses, from MIT to UC Berkeley. Law schools analyzed it for Title VII implications. HR departments nationwide updated their protocols, citing the Thompson standard. Black coders shared stories online, inspired by Marcus's poise. One tweeted, "Saw Dr. Thompson's story, applied to Stanford CS, accepted today. No more excuses." Marcus's office in San Francisco's Embarcadero now had branches in Seattle and Austin. His team, 30 strong, was designing AI tools to detect bias in hiring algorithms. The Apex project launched successfully, its security praised in industry journals, Marcus's name prominent. But the real victory was cultural. The incident had sparked conversations in boardrooms, classrooms, and homes. Parents asked kids about fairness. Students challenged professors on inclusion. CEOs scrutinized their cultures. The live streams, now archived, were required viewing and diversity training, a reminder that assumptions could cost millions. Marcus's story wasn't just his. It was every coder's, every professional's, every person who'd been judged before they could speak. He'd turned bias into a catalyst, proving that competence, not conformity, wins. As Marcus closed his laptop, the city skyline glowing outside, he thought of his mother's words, "They'll see you one day." They had, and they'd keep seeing him because his work, His truth was unstoppable. What's your story? Have you faced bias in your workplace? Share it below. Your voice could spark the next change. Subscribe to Tech Soul Stories for more tales of triumph over adversity. Hit that notification bell. Every week we amplify the brilliance that bias tries to hide. Excellence knows no bounds. Your chapter starts now.